On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, football season is back. College football will be taking place on Saturday. Week 0 does not make any sense to me whatsoever. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't get it. I don't get why they don't call Week 0 Week 1, and then the teams that don't play in the first week just have a bye in Week 1, and then they start in Week 2. I don't get it at all. But also, I don't care because football is back, and to celebrate and to get excited about college football season being back, I thought, why not reach out to the brightest college football mind working at Barstool. Mincy told us he could not come on the show, however, so we settled for Brandon Walker. And Brandon Walker is back. I know Brandon was just on the show not too long ago, but Brandon's begging me to come back on and talk about college football. And, what the hell? We'll have him back on. We'll talk about college football season coming up. But also, Brandon and I are launching a new show together. It is called Mostly Sports with Mark Titus and Brandon Walker. Yes, my name is first. That is for a very specific reason, and it's that, frankly, I'm better than Brandon. I'm better than Brandon. That's what it is. Brandon like announced the show on his Twitter. I don't know. We're gonna talk about it, but we have a new live daily YouTube show that we are doing together. We're very excited about it. For all the shit I give Brandon, I do love having him on this show. I love doing content with him. It makes my job very, very easy. So anyway, that's the show today. We're doing a little college football preview with Brandon Walker, talking about Week 0 of college football and what we expect to see this year. So please enjoy Brandon Walker. All right, the Spanish women win the World Cup, second country, I think, to ever win a men's World Cup and a women's World Cup. Brandon Walker is here to talk about it, break it all down. What part of the Spanish women run to the World Cup title for you was the best, would you say, Brandon?
Well, I thought the defense was impressive throughout. I mean, obviously they were a stone wall throughout the entire thing. What do we call them? The Lionesses or something like that? Well, who's the first country to win both the men's and women's? I'm guessing France or Italy.
Brazil, probably.
Probably Brazil, yeah. Probably Brazil. But do they have good women? Oh, they got great women in Brazil. What am I saying?
Okay, so we're going to talk about college football.
Why?
I guess this is the first question is why is Week 0 called Week 0, and why don't they just, like, it feels very Spinal Tap to me. I trust you understand that reference. You've seen this is Spinal
goes
Tap.
To 11? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, why don't you just call Week 0 Week 1, and then Week 1 is Week 2? Like, what the fuck is Week 0?
Because Week 1 is a strong name. Week 1, everybody remembers Week 1, so they want the first big week of games to be Week 1. That's why this is Week 0.
But it's confusing for the layman when you're like, college football starts, or like Week 1 is in 2 weeks, but college football starts this weekend.
You know what the weird part is?
That's confusing.
We've got this thing, and I don't know of any other sport that does it as much as college football does it, but we have Week 0, and for the next week, we're going to be thinking about Week 0, and it's going to be all we're thinking about, and on Saturday, we're all going to watch it. And come Week 2 or Week 3, nobody remembers Week 0 at all. Like, it didn't matter. It wasn't a thing. So we're spending way too much time talking about Week 0.
Then, okay, so why are you on the show then? Why don't I bring you back next week when Week 1's about to start?
You invited me on the show.
Because I thought college football was starting Saturday, Brandon. That's my point. It's confusing. Why don't you just have a set date?
Yeah,
this is the season starting.
You're right.
The season starts today.
It kind of starts Saturday. The problem with Week 0, there was one year where the Week 0 there was only one game, and it was Florida-Miami, and it was a standalone, and it was an incredible matchup to have by itself. If you want to do it like that, where you have one game starting a week earlier and make it a big game, I see that. But when you make it Notre Dame, Navy, and Ireland, and you make it USC. Who are they playing? San Jose or
San Jose? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, well, it doesn't matter. Now we are all gonna be watching Notre Dame and Navy like it's going out of style, but we won't remember anything from it.
You're right about that. I will not. I will watch it.
You remember last year's Week 0? It was Northwestern and Nebraska.
And then Fitz had the onside kick. Right? We remember that, right? Wasn't that the Fitz onside kick, like when they were up like 2 touchdowns?
I don't remember the onside kick as well. I just remember the first drive, Nebraska went down the field like it was nothing to it, and they took a 7-0 lead, and everybody...
I got that wrong. It was Scott Frost onside kick. That's what Doom did.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
That's what he had a 2-touchdown lead.
Coaches swapped.
He had a 2-touchdown lead, I believe, and he said, you know what, fuck him. I'm putting an onside kick out there because he had it rolling. He had the momentum. He's like, fuck him, and boom. As soon as he did that, it was over.
For the first second in like 2 years, Scott Frost's seat in that moment, just for like 1 second, his seat was not hot because he was like up like the first game of the year. He's up 2 touchdowns on a conference. You know, it's like, okay, cruising. Maybe Scott Frost, maybe we're cruising. Scott Frost is like, watch this, YOLO, bitch. Bam.
You know what was funny about that? What was funny about that is he did it. He did the onside kick. It changed the whole game. And then after the game, somebody asked him about it. What went wrong? And he's like, well, our offensive coordinator needs to call plays like this is the big time defensive, big time Division I level that we are. It's like, all right, sure, it's his fault.
It's his fault. Speaking of YOLOing, let's talk about our show, Mostly Sports, that you at what time was it? 11:30 Eastern on a random ass Thursday.
I think it was like 9 o'clock.
I go back to the who was the reporter that was like, I worked on this story for 3 years and then he just tweeted it out.
Yeah,
that was you with the launch of the show. We've been talking about this for months. We've been mapping it out. We've been coming up with a logo, coming up with a name, and then you just tweet it out.
Well, let's talk about the guy behind the curtain. I feel like the wizard was at work here because I wanted to do promos. I wanted to do all these video stuff. And TJ was the voice of God saying, hey, don't do that. Just tweet it out and get it out there. Correct, TJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's better to just drop the bomb rather than have people be like, this is a shitty promo or, you know.
What if it would have been a good promo, though?
Shot 5 minutes before we put it out. I don't think it would be that good.
Well, we had months to shoot it.
We had months to shoot it, and then you guys canceled the date that they were going to shoot the promos on because you got COVID.
I had COVID, yeah.
You had COVID.
Yeah.
But this is now 2 shows for me, Brandon, that I've launched at Barstool that I basically make an announcement that my show is coming, and then everyone's like, oh, sick. Does it start on Monday or Tuesday? And then I'm like, no. It starts in a month and a half.
Well, calm down,
you're going to have to... I'll be dead by the time it launches, but yeah, mostly for those who don't know, Brandon and I are doing a live daily YouTube show in the morning. We do not want to say what time yet because that seems to be a bit of controversy around this company that you can't be married to a time, so we don't want to do that yet. But we're going to do a morning YouTube show together. It is called Mostly Sports. It is called that because that is what we're going to be talking about, Brandon. Do we like the name? Do you now that we put it out there and people have consumed it and given you feedback and everything, are you second guessing the name, Brandon? I'm
not. This is the thing. I'm not a good namer of shows. But when we put this one out there, I was scared to death people were going to freak out and say shitty name, but that didn't happen. There was pretty much universal acclaim for it, and there were a couple of people maybe saying not a good name, but I expected everybody to say it, so I'm fine with the name.
I'm fine with the name too. Well, what I told you the whole process is that the name doesn't actually matter. It's all very stupid. Nobody actually cares.
Which I disagree with heavily. I think the name matters a lot.
I think Pardon My Take is objectively a horrendous name for a show if it launched in 2020.
I think it's an amazing name.
It's a terrible name. If 2 dipshits in college launched a podcast called Pardon My Take in 2023, you'd be like, this show's stupid.
Yeah, well,
but it works because it was a good name back when they launched it, I guess, because they were parodying, Pardon the Interruption and First Take or whatever. But that was my point to you. Is like, I think if the show is good, then everyone's like, that's a great name. And if the show sucks, then they make fun of the name.
Well, I wanted Titus and Walker, but you didn't want to do the name thing again because apparently something in your past or something, I don't know. And then we both universally agreed that Walker and Titus sounded like a disease. So we had to come up with something, and Mostly Sports. Yeah, it works. We're going to be talking about sports mostly.
Have you needed to ice your shoulder from throwing it out, from patting yourself on the back for volunteering to go second on the name, the listing of the name? I mean, God, how many times can you?
Let's be honest. I didn't tweet that out. Listen, I can't help that David Blattman, our senior production guy here at Barstool, if you want to follow him on Twitter, it's at David Blattman. I can't help that he tweeted that out, saying that look at Brandon Walker, what a hero. Brandon Walker willingly telling everybody that Mark Titus should go first. I mean, listen, I'm a humble guy, and I'm not going to bring it up again.
I think you let me go first because you know that every show you have at Barstool eventually gets canceled, and this is your way of when this show gets canceled and we just like hit the iceberg and go down. My name being first on it reflects poorly on me and not as poorly on you. I think that's your plan with this. That was really what it was. You're like, I see the writing on the wall because this is destined to be just like every other show I've had here, and I want Titus to
nobody remembers the second guy who gets killed in a war. Nobody remembers that guy. So, there's a little bit of that, but this one ain't gonna fail. With this one, we're good.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So yeah, go. You can do what? Subscribe on YouTube right now.
Subscribe to YouTube.
To the feed.
Mostly sports at Barstool, and listen.
We don't have any social channels yet because we haven't built those because Brandon tweeted out way too soon and didn't give us time to
You're
build those.
lying right now because TJ gave me the go ahead to tweet it out. TJ gave me. Did you not?
I did.
Yeah, he did. TJ gave me the go ahead, and TJ gave me the go ahead because you were there the whole time.
Sometimes you got to strike while the iron's hot, and the iron was hot at that moment.
Well, there were a lot of controversies about shows and whatnot at Barstool, and shows moving to this time and that time, and shows.
That's why I felt it felt a little panicky to me. It felt like we gotta make sure we get our foot in the door here before the door slams shut. But I felt like we were already in. I didn't know we needed to. But it's fine. It's out there. It's fine. I don't care. Like you said, people don't hate the name. I think the name's fine. I didn't really care about the name that much. I think the logo's good. The logo's good, right?
The logo's good.
Tape on
and listen, I don't listen. We don't fight wars, and we're not paving highways. We're not doing hard work. But getting to that good logo was a fucking chore. that was. Yeah. We went through some shit. These eyeballs in here have seen some shit.
Yeah, we went through the mud to get to this.
We went through
Shawshank Redemption. We crawled through the shit. Yeah.
I swear to God, one of them, someone typed out mostly sports on Microsoft Word, highlighted the whole thing, and then changed it to the Wingdings font, and then just sent that in.
One had every letter in a different font.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. So we got there.
But we're excited about the show. It'll be great. It'll be we're going to talk about sports. That's it.
The idea is
what is the idea? Have we honed in on?
Well, it's just two guys talking ball. Two guys that don't presumably hate each other yet. Talking ball. It ain't a Beyond Thunderdome every day, but we're just talking ball.
That's it. We wanted to. The original title that I loved was Two Dudes Talking Ball, but we realized, I think it's John Boy's network. He's got like talking baseball and talking Yanks and stuff like that. And I felt like we were stepping on his toes.
It's kind of bullshit on his part just to take the word talking out of circulation.
Talking, yeah. Yeah, he kind of did. It's like Paris Hilton trademarking that's hot.
Yeah, like that's kind of you took a pretty key word in the business.
Just own talking. Ohio State takes the. We just trademarked the word the.
So you want to talk college football?
Yeah, let's talk college football. And I think we start here. I think it's the conversation that certainly all my friends and I are having. Since I moved to Chicago, it seems to be the conversation going on in the Midwest. I assume it's the conversation going on in the South. So it's a question I'm going to pose to you, Brandon. What is Congress doing to make this sport safer, and do you think it's enough?
Yeah, that's certainly what's going on in the water cooler down south. I know in Tuscaloosa right now there's a diner just full of guys, old men saying, "Boy, what can we do to make these boys safer?" That's what's going on.
What is beyond realignment? Because I know you're sick of talking about it. I'm sick of talking about it as well. But remove the realignment part. Let's just talk about the football part. What is the overarching theme, like going into this? It doesn't have to be a theme, but like what is the vibe? Do you feel like this is going to be?
So I
think ever since 2007, everybody's just like jonesing for a year where there's just like mass fucking chaos. But then there's also the years, obviously, where it's like the teams that are the top five seem to be the top five most of the season. What's your read on this season?
Well, I think chaos is possible. I don't think there's a hardline elite team just sitting on top of the sport like Georgia did last year. But if I had to like turn a phrase, I'd probably use the phrase like return to glory, because I feel like there's 5 or 6 big name programs that haven't tasted that huge success lately that have a chance to break back through there. Now, obviously, Georgia's going to be very good. Michigan's going to be very good. Ohio State's going to be very good. But beyond that, Texas, looks loaded, and I know people say that every year, but their roster is loaded and that conference is not very good. Florida State's as good as they've been in a decade. Penn State is as good as they've been in a decade. They've got a chance to break through the national title picture. USC, after last year, they kind of returned to the map, but they didn't bring a defense. Now, if they have a defense, they could be a national title. So you got 4 or 5 big-name programs that haven't been in that playoff spotlight really, that have a chance to do it. Like Penn State hasn't been in the playoff, right? Florida State was in the first one. USC has not been in the playoff, and then Texas has not been in the playoff. So that's 4 big programs that are going to be in that conversation to join the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Ohio States of the world. Now, conversely, I don't think Georgia's quite as good as they were last year. I said this last year. I thought they were going to fall off, but they didn't. But I don't think they're quite as good. They still get the benefit of the doubt because they've won 2 straight. I don't think Ohio State's quite as good. I don't think Alabama's quite as good. So I think the top comes down a little, the bottom goes up, and it gets a little tighter.
So how do you because I'm sure there are plenty of people listening to this that are like, we hear the same old shit every year about all the programs you just listed that they're back, like most notably Texas, obviously.
Yeah.
What makes you how can we be sure that you're not just being like the typical college football talking head, just trying to like gas these teams up to make the sport seem more interesting when really they all suck and we all know it?
What makes
you think that it's going to be different with these teams this year?
So I'll just go individual basis. Texas plays in a league. We just saw TCU and Kansas State play for that title last year. Kansas State lost to Tulane at home. They lost to Alabama by 90. TCU lost to Kansas State. TCU then goes and loses by 60 points to Georgia, meaning that conference really wasn't that strong last year at the top. It really wasn't. Texas has a loaded roster, and if Texas had a quarterback that stayed healthy and was able to mature through the season, I think they would have handled that schedule a little bit better than they did. Their roster throughout the team, whether it's quarterback, their offensive line is fixed, their running back situation's good, their receiver situation's good, and the defense looks better than it's looked in years, and the conference isn't very good. So I think, if not now, when for them? I think this is the year for them to break back through. Penn State has missed a top-line quarterback. They got a guy they think might be a top-line quarterback, and they have dudes all over that roster. The running back position, they got one of the best left tackles in the country, one of the best defensive backs in the country. USC, last year we saw them go 10-2, or excuse me, what did they go, 10-2 or 11-1? I think they went 11-1, then lost in the Pac-12 title game. So they went 11-1, and we saw them come back last year. So they were right on the edge of the playoff last year. Their defense just wasn't good enough. Well, they went and got 7 transfers that are probably going to start. So that puts them in the mix. And Florida State beat LSU to open the year last year. They finished 9-3, and now they come back. They got everybody back. They got the quarterback. They got a very good running back, very good receiver room. They got one of the best defensive players in the country. Like, it's all lined up. I understand that this might not all happen, and a couple of those teams might fall off, but on paper, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for all 8 teams that you mentioned to make the playoff. I
mentioned 4. I mentioned 4.
I don't think that's going to.
I also didn't say all 4 were going to make the playoff. I said they're going to be in the playoff conversation, and that could mean anything. That could mean anything. Yeah,
literally every team's in the conversation.
Depends on what conversation you want to have.
If you're having the conversation of teams that are not going to make the playoff, but that's still a playoff conversation.
It's a playoff conversation.
The Indiana Hoosiers and Virginia Cavaliers will not make the playoff. But by saying that, they are now in the playoff conversation.
Indiana plays Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, all playoff contenders. That puts Indiana squarely in the playoff conversation.
Last time you were on my show, we talked about like Georgia and Michigan. Unsurprisingly, are the top 2 teams in the preseason poll.
Right.
Both of those teams have dog shit schedules for most of the season, and I think it's going to become a theme throughout the season, unless they're both just winning by like 50 every game.
Yeah.
I don't mean to, and you were like defending Georgia's schedule. Like, I know at the end, are they at Tennessee? I know they play Tennessee.
They're at Tennessee,
yeah, they're at Tennessee. I know Michigan goes to Penn State. You have Ohio State to end the season. So they eventually do kind of have to step up and beat some big boys before they get their free pass to the playoff. But yeah, is that what we envision? I mean, like, what the frustrating part for me is like a guy who's obviously into this shit, but like, doesn't live and breathe it every second of every day. The idea that those 2 are just like going to be permanently fixed at the top, and it's going to take like a miracle for either one of them to lose until November. That sucks, Brandon.
But it's also reality for the last 100 years of college football. There's always those teams that you look at their schedule and how are they going to lose. So that's not anything new. Secondly, Georgia's in a weird spot because Georgia has played one of the most ambitious out-of-conference schedules for the last 10 years of anybody. They played Clemson, Oregon, Notre Dame. Like, they play people.
Yeah. To be clear, I want to stop and say for any Georgia fan watching this, I'm not like – I don't mean to say they're going to be overrated. I don't mean to say that they're pussies and scared or anything like that. That's not. I'm not coming at it from that angle. I'm just saying as like a neutral fan, you want to see the number one team every week like playing a good team, and it's not their fault that some of the SEC teams that pop up on their schedule are down this year. I get all that. Well, and they were supposed to play Oklahoma too, right? And then
they were supposed to, and then the SEC stepped in and said you can't play them because they're coming to the conference. But Michigan, I think Michigan's schedule is probably a little bit more difficult than you think. Like they got the Big Ten East, they got the Ohio State and the Penn State. I mean, that's 2 top 10 teams right there.
But it's not till November. That's my problem.
Yeah, their first 2 months are easy. Their first 2 months are cowardly in the non-conference, but all we're going to remember about these teams is November anyway. All we're going to remember about these teams, I mean, Michigan was never going to lose more than 1 or 2 games anyway. So I'm not going to get too caught up on their schedule. Because I do think it kind of evens out. If you look at any schedule in a 1-year window, it could look terrible. But if you look at their scheduling efforts over a decade, 2 decades, that's how you tell if teams are pussies or not.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, like, I'm not here to argue whether teams are pussies. I'm here to just say, like,
there's nothing I can do to make Michigan's schedule in 2023 interesting for you. There's nothing I can do to make Michigan an interesting football team for you to watch in October. There's nothing I can do for that.
How about this? Is Jim Does Jim Harbaugh, like in talking about Georgia not being as good, Georgia has a new quarterback. What's his name? Carson Beck?
Carson Beck. Let me amend that, because if any team deserves the benefit of the doubt, it is the Georgia Bulldogs, because 2 years ago they won the national title, and last year I thought they would take an understandable step back because they lost historic amount from one of the best defenses I've ever seen, and then they came out and were better last year.
But if they call targeting like they should have on Marvin Harrison Jr., they lose to Ohio State team that didn't even win their conference. And suddenly we're having a different conversation about Georgia.
Shoulder to shoulder hits are not targeting.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There's nothing. Yeah, I know Ohio State fans are still in their feelings about it, and I'm sorry that Marvin Harrison didn't play the rest of the game, but that was not targeting. That was
Again, I ask you, what is Congress doing to make the sports?
It will start in a state legislature at some point where a team like Ohio State loses and their receiver gets hurt, and they're like, we can't have this shit no more. It'll probably start in the South. Like if Alabama gets fucked one year, the Alabama state legislature will start passing a law saying you can't hit Alabama receivers on the sidelines.
It'll do if you play football games in Ohio, you can get away with that shit outside of the state of Ohio, but goddamn it, if you come to the state of Ohio and you hit someone with your shoulder in the head and that someone is projected to be a first-round pick, that's targeting. You
cannot hit first-round receivers above the waist or below the knee. You can only hit them in the thigh.
But you could. There's a world where Georgia is worse.
There's a world where Georgia's worse.
There's a world where they're worse and they still win the national championship this year, right? Like I don't think so. You don't have to.
Okay, I know what you're saying because their schedule's so bad.
You don't have to like hedge your thoughts and be like, I think Georgia's going to take a step back, and then when they win the national title, Georgia fans are like, suck my dick, Brandon, you were wrong. You could still be right. You could still be like, listen, they've won 3 in a row, but this third team isn't as good as the first 2.
How are they going to be worse and then survive a gauntlet at the end that is the SEC championship game, a playoff semi, and a playoff final? Like, there's got to be if they're worse, then somebody in that group's going to beat them. They only won a playoff game last year by a point. So if they're significantly worse, I don't know that they're going to survive that. They will get exposed in either the SEC title game or the playoff. And frankly, the at Tennessee trip ain't easy.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be. Yeah, but I just I think there's a world where they could be worse and they could still win it. I mean, I don't think, because this is like whenever you like rank national champions or champions in any sport, inevitably someone has to be last, and then whoever's last is like, how could we be last? We won the national championship, and then you're like, do you understand what this exercise is? We're ranking all the teams as national champions. That's how I feel about Georgia. Is like I think you want to talk yourself into them being worse, and it makes sense. Like Stetson Bennett, for all the jokes, for all the for all the shit about like how he's not that talented. I mean, do you believe that Stetson Bennett was a good football player? That there was something to like him playing quarterback for Georgia that made them a better team and made them like he's a winning football player. Do you believe in that shit, or are you like?
I believe he was a good college football player in a great situation with a terrific offensive coordinator, and I believe that offensive coordinator figured out exactly what his strengths were, exactly what he could do. He could run a lot better than you thought, and teams just never defended him like that. He made the right decision, and frankly, he never had to fit balls into tight windows. He didn't have to do things that certain quarterbacks have to do. He had a great offensive coordinator. The bigger question than the new quarterback for me at Georgia is the fact that coordinator is now not there anymore, and they went back to Mike Bobo, who's been there before. So new coordinator, new quarterback. That's the big questions at Georgia.
All right. What about the rest of the SEC? Well, go ahead.
We can talk about the SEC. I want to switch to the Big Ten at some point, though. But the SEC is interesting to me because I believe if you stack the Big Ten and the SEC up side by side, the SEC is better from 1 to 14 because I think like teams 4 through 13 are pretty good in the SEC, whereas in the Big Ten there's some trash. But the top 3 in the Big Ten are better to me than the top 3 in the SEC this year. I don't think Alabama's as good as they've been. I think people are absolutely wrong on LSU. LSU's preseason top 5 because last year they went 9-3 and they won the West. Everybody looks at what they did right last year. They beat Alabama. They won the West. They don't look at what they did wrong. They got dominated by Florida State and ended up making that a fluky 1-point loss. And they got beat by a bad Texas A&M at the end, and their quarterback is inconsistent. So I don't think LSU is an actual national title contender. I think Alabama is a title contender, but not nearly as good as they were 5 years ago. And Georgia is Georgia. That's the SEC's horse this year.
That's pretty wild. So you love Penn State.
I love Penn State.
You really like Penn State, yeah.
They got dudes at every level of the team. Like the Big Ten's interesting in, sometimes you'll see a running back tandem at a team. And it's like, remember when these two guys were on the same team at the same time, Derek McFadden and Felix Jones, or Cadillac Williams and Ronnie Brown at Auburn? Big Ten's got 4 of those this year. They got 4 incredible running back tandems. Michigan with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Ohio State with Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams. Penn State with Nick Singleton and Allen. And then Wisconsin's got one too, Braylon Allen and Malusi. So, like, the Big Ten is a running back conference this year. But on your question on Penn State, I think the quarterback improved. The running backs are going to be elite. The offensive line is solid, has a first-round pick up there, and the defense is going to be great. Receivers is the only question mark to me.
I wanted to ask you about the SEC quarterbacks because we were talking about Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
That to me is super interesting, but I also don't like. I don't follow this shit close enough to like follow the recruiting to know who's like next in the pipeline. So to me, like Beck at Georgia, I'm not saying he's not good, but like anytime there's an unknown quarterback, I'm just like, who the hell is it? This is what's going on in Ohio State as well. Like our quarterback situation. I know they're both like really fucking good, and in the end, we don't have to really worry about a quarterback. But like right now, I'm like, shit, we lost C.J. Stroud. What are we gonna do at quarterback? That becomes compelling to me in the SEC when you have all the quarterbacks, the quarterbacks that left and went to the draft, Levis and Richardson and Bryce Young, obviously, Stetson Bennett. So what do you feel like the quarterback play in the SEC will be good this year? And if not, like, is that back to your point of saying, like, I don't know, because it feels like you're kind of towing around the idea of maybe this is a down year for the SEC. That seems to be what you want to say.
I think it is.
Down year comparative, by the way. I'm comparing it to the rest. Like, the SEC has been so good.
Yeah. I think it's a down year. I think it's a down year on top of the SEC. I don't think there's I don't think there's multiple elite teams this year. There usually are multiple elite teams. Again, the meat of the SEC are all pretty good. Like Arkansas, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Missouri. I think these are all very solid football teams, but none of them are elite. So I think it's
those are all teams that can win the Capital One Bowl.
Those are all teams that can win the Capital One Bowl. Also, I think they're all teams that could give Alabama, LSU, or Georgia a scare, or even put a loss on them. I think it's going to be tough. Now, as far as the quarterback quality in the SEC, I think this is markedly a down year as far as entering the season. We'll find out what happens at Alabama, whether it's Buckner or or Milroe or Simpson. We'll find out at Georgia if Carson Beck is the guy. But otherwise, like Jaden Daniels is probably the best returning quarterback. And again, he was inconsistent as hell at LSU. KJ Jefferson is solid, but I think that's it. He's solid. Spencer Rattler was up and down. Will Rogers put up huge numbers, but he did it in a system. Jackson Dart was up and down. So, like, if you ranked conferences based on quarterbacks and quarterbacks alone entering the season, SEC is probably third at best.
Wow. We didn't even talk about Hendon Hooker leaving Tennessee.
And people that's people want to assume the best. Like, people assume Joe Milton's going to be good. Guy's going in his 5th year of college football. He started 5 games. He's never kept a job. So now that's who we're putting our hopes in.
Why is that? Why is it? Just because Tennessee fans are nuts and
Tennessee fans are nuts, and I think it's just college football fans are nuts. And whoever the next guy is, he's going to succeed because he's their next guy. That's Spencer Rattler to me. Is like I don't understand how Spencer Rattler just continues to. Why does anybody talk about Spencer Rattler at all? What's amazing about him? I think he threw like 60% of his touchdowns last year in the last 2 games. He sucked so bad for 10 games. He was terrible. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the country for 10 games. And then they show up and put 63 on Tennessee and 30-something on Clemson, and he is a Heisman winner. Like, Spencer Rattler makes no sense.
Same with Graham Mertz at Florida. Like, I've seen enough of this guy at Wisconsin that, like, I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but, like, I don't know. You're kind of right. It does suck, but that seems to be the – basically, if you're like a senior quarterback in football, I just think you suck. You can't be that good if you're still,
3 SEC teams are starting failed Big Ten quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
So, like, that's pretty crazy if you think about it.
That is pretty crazy. So having said all of this, you're talking about teams taking a step back maybe. You're talking about questions at quarterback. You're talking about these SEC teams, which obviously the SEC dominates the playoff every single year. And if you want to have the national champion conversation, you start in the SEC, and you probably just end with the SEC. You probably just say, who's the best team in the SEC? There's your national champion. But having said all of that you've just said about the SEC, has the pressure on Michigan ever been higher, Brandon? Do you feel like, as a neutral observer, this is national title or bust for Michigan?
I think it's absolutely a national title or bust. You make 2 playoffs in a row, and then you come into the 3rd season. You at some point now making the playoff isn't a big deal. You've made the playoff twice. You've beaten Ohio State twice. Right. Your season is no longer about Ohio State. You got to beat them, but your season isn't just about that. It's now about winning a national title. And if they don't win a national title, it is bust as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think they're good enough to win a national title.
I don't think so either. I think Jim Harbaugh has become Jim Tressel, basically, where Jim Tressel snuck in the one national title to where it got everybody off the back, and in Florida.
Well, he stole a national title on the bogus pass interference call. Yeah.
Oh, so that one should have been called. So you can grab a guy's jersey, and that's a flag, but then you can launch yourself into the air and smoke a dude in the face and knock him out of a game, and that's not a flag.
I guess refs can just watch a play unfold and then do their taxes and go have dinner and then finally throw a flag in a national title game. Is that what we're doing?
Oh, so you want them to you don't want them to think about if you don't make the call immediately, you shouldn't make the call. Don't get it right, is what you're saying. Just be fast.
I'm saying if you don't make the call immediately, maybe the call wasn't to be made. That's what I'm saying. But it's okay.
Don't be right.
I would love for my team to steal a national title. That would be awesome.
Don't be right. Just be fast. Just make a call immediately, and we'll stick with it. Because don't take the time to actually get the call right.
But in 2002, you weren't yet an Ohio State guy, were you?
I wasn't, which is why my opinion should carry more weight than anyone else's, because I was a neutral observer, Brandon, and I felt like that was the right call, and Ohio State deserved that national championship. And I wasn't even an Ohio State fan.
You always feel like your opinion should carry more weight than others.
Yeah, I feel like Harbaugh has a Tressel problem where towards the end of Tressel's run at Ohio State, he had built an absolute monster of a Big Ten football program that could not be beat in Big Ten football. He could line them up. He could run it down your fucking throat. He could, on a cold November day in the Midwest, he had some tough sons of bitches that would just line them up and find out who's a man. And it was like, we got more men than you do. We're going to beat you that way. But then, against Florida, against LSU, which the LSU national title loss, I got to say, the one in the 07 season in January of 08.
Yeah.
Kind of bullshit. Like every Ohio State fan like didn't really want to be there in the first place. Of course you want to be there, but you're also like, we are definitely not the second best team in the country. How did we get into this game?
You should definitely make excuses for a 16-year-old national title game. That's what you should do right here.
But whatever. No, I remember we got our ass kicked and everyone's like, Ohio State sucks. And I was like, no, the Florida loss is indicative of, like, you can rub that in our face and be like, you guys were frauds. The one in 07.
The Florida loss was the moment where the SEC said, all right, fuck this bullshit. We're taking over the sport.
Right. And then 08 happened, and I was like, we should not even be here. How come the rest of the country sucks so bad that now we have to get our ass kicked by LSU? We should be winning the Rose Bowl right now.
Well, I have a thing about Michigan, and I want to throw this by you, okay? Because you just mentioned Ohio State having all these tough guys and everything. And the truth is, these days the Ohio State team is not a tough team. They're not tough. They're not physical. You can bully them around. Now I want to throw this phrase out there. Ohio State is built to win national titles. Michigan is built to beat Ohio State.
I'm so glad that you interrupted me when I was getting ready to make that exact point to make my point for me, Brandon. It
was taking forever. Awesome. I had to get it going. I mean, shit. Let's just get this train down the road.
I was saying that Harbaugh reminds me of Tressel because Tressel was winning big, but then we would get exposed against SEC athletes, and by the end of the run, you were like, oh shit, maybe Tressel had his eye. He had his eye on the wrong prize. He was trying to win Big Ten games. He was trying to beat Michigan, and we could beat Michigan, but we couldn't beat the SEC. Then Urban comes in, and he was like doing both, kind of, and that was fucking awesome. And I feel like Harbaugh got so sick of losing to Ohio State that he's put all of his focus on that game in November, and it's worked wonderfully. But then he shows up in the playoff, and they'll never get over that hump because Michigan is built to win the Big Ten, and Ohio State's built to win national championships.
You agree that you had ample time to make that point.
It's a podcast, Brandon. I don't like what you're talking like I'm on the halftime show at Fox and I got 20 seconds to make my hit.
We got a hard 3 minutes here, Titus. You know
how many people are like on a flight or mowing their grass or something and they want time to come on. What are we doing?
Honey, I gotta go mow my grass.
I was adding color to the
baby. No, I got to stay out there and mow grass some more because Titus hasn't made his point yet. I got to make another round. I think that jokes aside, I think that point is actually correct. Like, I do think Michigan is built to beat Ohio State. Ohio State is built to win national titles. Ohio State has athletes at every position and can go toe-to-toe with an SEC team. That's why they look more comfortable going toe-to-toe with Georgia, whereas Michigan just lines up, hits them in the mouth, and eventually by the third or fourth quarter, Ohio State's players are like, no, we can't handle this anymore. So,
and I genuinely think the weather has. I think it being that late in the season, and every single time Ohio State and Michigan play, it's going to be cold as shit. And whether that's sometimes it'll be in the 20s, sometimes it'll be in the 40s, but either way, it's not a game where you're comfortable as an Ohio State fan that you want to spread the ball over the floor and let your athletes shine. Yeah. You're not exactly comfortable going into that game, because you know that Michigan, who just wants to stuff it down your throat, has the advantage. And I feel that way going into this year. I'm like, I think Ohio State could win the national championship. I don't actually think that we are going to, but I feel more confident, whether it's like 20% confidence, whatever. But I feel more confident in Ohio State winning a national championship than I do us beating Michigan at Michigan. I think we're going to lose it. We're at Michigan, but we have a shot at once we get into a dome and we can let the athletes run. We have a shot at winning a national championship.
I think the scenario of a one-loss Penn State, a one-loss Michigan, and one-loss Ohio State is more alive this year than it's ever been. I think Michigan could lose at Penn State. I think Penn State could lose in Columbus, and Ohio State could lose in Ann Arbor. Like that, I feel like all of those could happen. That being said, I don't think Michigan gets enough grief and enough guff for losing to TCU last year. You beat Ohio State twice in a row. You get to the playoff 2 years ago. You lose to Georgia. Okay, that happens. And then you lose to a TCU team that was outmatched by 60 points to Georgia. Like you lose to a team that you had no business losing to. That's why I don't believe in Michigan's ability to win a national title this year because I don't think the quarterback's good enough.
Whoa.
I don't. People lie about him, and people do all these things. Oh, he's a top 10 quarterback to this. I think Joel Klatt has him as the number one quarterback in the country. He's not a top 15 quarterback in the country.
Joel Klatt has JJ as the number one quarterback in the country?
Joel Klatt has JJ McCarthy as
that
number
can't
one.
Be true.
Caleb Williams number
true.
2. It's on Twitter. It's on Twitter.
A second. I got to fact check that. There's no way Joel did that.
He has J.J. McCarthy, the number 1 quarterback in the country. He is not a top 15 quarterback. Last year, he finished 65th in accuracy. His completion percentage was not good. I believe he finished 55th in touchdown passes, 41st in yards. Like, I understand they're a run-first offense, and that's going to depress his numbers. But when it was time to throw, he didn't really do a good job of it, except in one game. He hit the big long passes against Ohio State. Against TCU, they asked him to win it. He couldn't do it. He threw 2 pick sixes. Like, I just don't think this is the guy. And I think he's a very solid quarterback, and he's going to win you 11 games, and he's going to win you the Big Ten. But when it comes time to get on the field with an SEC team full of SEC athletes, and you have to make throws, I don't think JJ can do it.
What the fuck?
I wasn't lying.
TJ just sent me the list. He's got JJ. That can't be right.
Over Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams won the Heisman. Caleb Williams won the Heisman last year.
Something happened. That can't be right.
It's maddening. I don't. It's Will Levis all over again.
Quick break to talk about our friends at Coors Light. Everyone thinks about the day they'll eventually get to retire and enjoy all the freedom that comes with it, but who says we have to wait decades before we get to kick back and chill out? Take advantage of that free will and spend the summer chilling like a retiree and pair those moments with Coors Light, the beer that is made to chill. Enjoy your temporary retirement era with Coors Light. It is the beer that is literally made to chill. Pairs well with the retired state of mind. It also pairs well with a round of golf. Like I played, I don't get out there a ton. Got out there this weekend. Played one of the hardest courses of my life. I lost 4 balls. This is true, TJ. I lost 4 balls on one hole. I quit the hole. I took 2 tee shots. Both of them went in the water. Then I dropped up by where they both went into the water. I hit 2 more from there. Both of those went in the water. I quit the hole. I think I quit the next hole. Wait for the beer cart to come around. Got me a couple Coors Lights. Drank those. Swear to God, true story. I parred the next hole. So I'm not telling you that Coors Light will help your golf game. I'm telling you it'll, for me, just for me, puts me in the relaxed state of mind, puts me in a retired state of mind. The mountains and the bottles and cans even turn blue when your beer is cold, so you know when it's time to grab another. It is perfect for all your summer plans. Summer is not over yet, folks. Football season is back, but that does not mean summer is over. Football season and summer do overlap, contrary to popular belief. It is still summer. Squeeze those last bits of summer out and enjoy them with the Coors Light. No judgment here. If you want to take the retired state of mind and go enjoy every last second of your summer. Chill like you're retired with Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/Titus. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. To your point, like JJ,
solid.
He's solid. I as an Ohio State guy, I can't be a hater because he did like just completely rip us to shreds. But I mean, if we're being completely honest, and Michigan fans have to agree, like part of the reason he ripped Ohio State to shreds is because Ohio State didn't respect him one iota. Ohio State was like, this guy can't throw the ball. You can't complete a pass 15 yards downfield. And
guys were wide open. It was a little play action, just flummoxed Ohio State that day, and it was, and he hit them. But that was the only time he did it all year. Like he gets to the TCU game again, he throws 2 pick sixes. They're behind the 8 ball, and they can't come back and win.
Dude, I googled Joel Klatt, JJ McCarthy, and there's this article from October 2022. Where the headline reads, J.J. McCarthy responds to criticism, singles out Fox analyst Joel Klatt. So I think what's going on here, Brandon, is I think J.J. took a shot at Joel Klatt last year. Michigan goes on to win the Big Ten. Michigan goes to the playoff. And now Joel Klatt is like, I got to get ahead of this. And now, I feel like Joel Klatt.
Sounds like J.J. McCarthy owns Joel Klatt.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I feel like Joel Klatt got played by J.J. McCarthy. And Joel's better than that. Joel's better than that.
Do you know him?
A little bit, not super well, but yeah, we've broken bread together multiple times. I'll put it that way. It was a big table, but no,
it wasn't the same bread. He had his own bread at that end. You had your bread at this end.
No, I sat next to him when we were doing the college. I was on that college football tour. I did. I sat next to him a few different times at some of these stops, and just I don't really know if he would remember me at all, but I talked to him for like an hour at various nights, and I don't know. He's a smart guy. I like him. I like Joel on right. Like Joel seems like a smart, level-headed guy. This is insane.
I think he's one of the most respected and probably the best analyst in the game. I think he's fantastic. I think this is lunacy. I think he was drunk or high or something. I don't know what he's talking about.
I think JJ played him. I think that's what happened.
Even if you want to say he's top 5, I disagree with it, but I see where you're coming from. But to put him over Caleb Williams, to put him over.
I guess my
Drake
question
May?
then is, do you need to have a top flight quarterback in college football to win a national championship? I mean, it'd be nice, obviously, but do you actually have?
I think you need to have a very good quarterback to win the national title. Yes, and Stetson Bennett, I know, was a walk-on, but he played very good college football quarterback for Georgia, doing what they needed him to do. So, I think you can win the Big Ten with solid quarterback play. I don't think you can win 2 playoff games with solid quarterback play. I think you need more than that, and I'm not sure I've ever seen it out of J.J. McCarthy.
Let's talk about teams outside the Big Ten and SEC. Who is not this year's TCU? Because TCU was unranked, right, heading into the season last year.
They were 5-7 the year before with a first-year coach. They were very unranked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they, I don't necessarily expect you to stick your neck out and say one of these unranked teams is going to be in the playoff this year. But who's a team that's like, if you were to take a big, so they can be ranked, Brandon. But like, who's a team like outside the top 7, 8, 9? We'll call it 10. Who's a team that like that you're high on?
I don't want to put them in the playoff, and I don't want to put them anywhere near anything.
You're not putting them in the playoff. I'm saying like
I think Miami's going to be a lot better than people think. Miami's unranked. I think Miami has a chance to be a good team again. I think inside the top 10, I think Washington has a very good chance to make the playoff. As far as I don't know if I've picked a TCU yet. I don't know. Kansas State's outside, but I don't think their defense is good enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, like every team that's not ranked in the top 10 is not in the top 10 for a reason. It's
that's true. That's
they
true.
have glaring holes. I get all that. I was just trying to.
I got one.
What?
I think Wisconsin's going to be hell on wheels, and I don't want to say that because Dan is he'll love it, but Wisconsin brings back so much. They add a terrific coach who's already been in the playoff with Cincinnati. Their schedule is very manageable. I think their toughest game is they got Ohio State at home, and that's a team that could knock off Ohio State at home. They got the quarterback from SMU. They got the offensive coordinator who helped the last 2 quarterbacks at North Carolina, Drake May, and who's the kid in Washington, Sam Howell. They got everything. They got everything they need. Their defense is going to be good. I think Wisconsin's got a chance to be a 10, 11-win team.
Also, they have, at this point, the rest of the Big Ten doesn't really respect them, and they have that working in their favor. I think Ohio State doesn't fear them. I think, like all these teams that are going to line up against them, they're like, we're not scared of Wisconsin. But Wisconsin
all the attention is firmly on the Big 3 in the East. It's Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. So and Wisconsin has their own neighborhood over there in the West, and look who they're around. They got Nebraska, who's not there yet. They got Iowa, who can't score points. They got Minnesota, who's you got Northwestern, who might be the worst team in the country this year. Like, the West is where you want to be if you want to be a hidden gem.
So if Wisconsin wins the Big Ten, they beat an undefeated Michigan team in the Big Ten championship, and then Penn State and Ohio State each have 1 loss. Are we looking at a 4-team Big Ten playoff?
I don't see how we're not. No. Listen, the Big Ten the Big Ten had 2 playoff teams last year. And I do think if you told me, Brandon, there's a conference going to have 2 playoff teams this year, who is it? I would have to say it's the Big Ten again. I don't think it's the SEC, and I certainly don't think it's the Big 12. Pac-12, listen.
I was going to say Pac-12. What about the Pac-12?
Pac-12's
Oregon,
got
Washington,
more playoff contenders than you think. Pac-12, Utah, USC, Washington, and Oregon, and with an outside shot at Oregon State. Like, Oregon State's really good, too. Like, that's 5 very good teams.
Can I stop you there? Is Oregon State, because this is another thing where I think the laymen need this explained to them. Is Oregon State actually good, or are college football media people talking themselves into Oregon State being good because of conference realignment, and they lost the game of musical chairs, and everyone feels really bad for them, and now we're talking ourselves into this incredible Cinderella story where Oregon State wins the Pac-12 in the last year of the conference, and really sticks it to the rest of those schools that are leaving them. And are they actually a good football team, though?
10-3 last year, beat Oregon at the end of the season, beat the shit out of Florida in a bowl game. They add a former 5-star quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson. The only problem they had last year was they couldn't throw it. They bring back all 5 offensive linemen. They bring back one of the best freshman running back in the country, Martinez, and their defense is very, very solid. Yeah, this is a good football team.
Okay. All right. That's all I needed to hear. I don't know. I just felt like...
And plus, their name is the Beavers. And as you and I know, that's another word for pussies.
and that works in their favor.
That does. It very much does.
That works in their favor. I was going to ask about North Carolina being like a surprise team. Is there a world where Drake May is just so fucking good that he is good? He is really, really good. But I feel like North Carolina can't get out of their own way. I watched a lot of North Carolina football last year, and they might be the most fun team in the country to watch if you don't care who wins. If you just every game is like they play App State again this year, don't they? That's going to be an incredible game. And I have no idea who's going to win.
They have a tough schedule. They open with South Carolina. Like their non-conference is not easy. They just don't have a defense, and I don't even see them trying to get a defense. Like there's nothing they can do. They don't even bother trying to stop you from scoring points. They just roll out. And how do they keep getting these generational quarterbacks? They go from Sam Howell right into Drake May, and like, all right, we're just going to have a generational quarterback in North Carolina. Yeah, they're exciting, but I don't. There's too many in the ACC. There's balanced teams, right? Like there's Florida State, there's Clemson, and past that, I think Miami's going to be decent. Pitt's pretty good. Like I don't think North Carolina's in the group of top 4 in the ACC, and I know a lot of people do, but I don't think you can bludgeon people with offense over and over and not have your defense hurt you.
That good. Drake May's not that good.
He's great. He's great.
No, but he's not good. What I'm saying is he's not good enough to just carry.
He can't score 60 a week.
Yeah. It'd be fun to watch him try.
He's going to try.
Fun to watch him try.
He's going to try every week. Yeah. and he also lost his offensive coordinator. So I don't know how big of a deal that's going to be for him.
What who the Heisman race then? It's Caleb Williams. Him winning the Heisman last year. Do you think that? Yeah. I really do think there's voter fatigue with this stuff.
It borderline disqualifies you, and it's stupid,
right? You agree with that, right? Like that he should not be the favorite. In fact, he should not. Like you're throwing your money away if you're betting on him because he's going to have to be like have like one of the greatest all-time college football, which he's talented enough to do. But he's going to have one of the greatest all-time seasons.
He's to where like the voters to go 20% better than he was last year, which is almost impossible. Like Bryce Young to me was better last year than he was 2 years ago. Bryce Young didn't get in top 5. Like he didn't even get close. Tebow once won the Heisman the year after he was better, didn't get close. Like they just don't let you do it. They just will not vote for you. I don't know why. I don't know why we've decided Archie Griffin is the only one that can ever do this. But Caleb Williams probably is the strongest second-year candidate in a while because he's going to have a loaded offense in a conference that doesn't play pass defense. So he's going to put up gigantic numbers, and if they go 12-0, it's going to be hard not to give it to him. But there's going to be other players that step up, and if you come from the back of the pack, or if you do it at a place like in Ohio State, let's say Ohio State just has a quarterback come out of nowhere this year and is incredible, that guy is going to have a better chance to win than Caleb Williams.
Devin Brown will be the guy. I think he's going to be the guy, by the way.
So Kyle McCord's been waiting his ass 3 years to get a shot, and he just gets passed by Devin Brown?
I think we're going to do what Michigan did last year and kind of have the attitude of how can they know what to expect from our quarterback when we don't even know what to expect from our quarterback?
All right, well, let's look at it like this.
What?
Devin Brown's not a strong quarterback name.
Okay.
Like if you look around the country, like JJ McCarthy's a hell of a quarterback name.
Okay, but Devin Brown also wears number 33, which I think I don't know if that's good or bad. I think like in this new era of football, that might be good to have a guy wearing 33 lined up at quarterback. But I was a Kyle McCord guy the whole way. I've been because. I thought he was next in line. He's going to be the guy. This makes the most sense. But I don't know. I'm reading the tea leaves, Brandon. I'm just like,
no, I think you're right.
It feels like the Buckeye fans are most excited for Devin Brown because he's a better athlete, and he can McCord's like what's working in McCord's favor is that he was high school teammates with Marvin Harrison, which I don't know if that actually matters. But
now,
like it's
Marvin
something
Harrison
that like you feel
play
like
the whole
they have.
Season? Or will he do the Ohio State thing of I'm going to get drafted, so I'm not going to play because I'm a big fat pussy.
Don't do this. Don't do this. I know you're right. That's why I'm laughing because I know that this is coming. And,
you don't want me to put that out in the.
No, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen because he's gonna tweak his hamstring in like week 4, and then like he's not even gonna really be injured. He's just gonna be like it's a little tight, and then. Yeah, that's what Smith and Jigba did last year. He was, I don't mean to say that he was soft and that he should have come, whatever, but it was just like it was agonizing like every single week.
Yeah,
just hitting refresh on injury reports, and it's like he's a little. We're not really sure. He could maybe come back but we'll see. I think that's going to happen, Marvin Harrison. Yeah,
business decision. That's what it's called. A business decision.
Where were we? We were talking about Heisman guys. Do you like Penix?
Of course I do. First of all, it's Michael Penix Jr. I do like.
That's what I said, isn't it?
Yeah, you said it. You said it somehow. I do like Penix. Penix is one of the most amazing stories. This guy at Indiana sucked. I mean, he sucked. He was not good at all.
Don't I know it? I watched a lot of I watch more Indiana football than any human being should.
And then he gets to Washington. Yeah. And he turns into one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
So isn't this proof positive for a guy like Graham Mertz being awesome at Florida? Like all these Big Ten transfers that are going to the SEC. Isn't this Joe Milton? I
don't think so, because I think what you want to do is go from the Big Ten to the Pac-12. The Pac-12 doesn't play pass defense. I know there's good quarterbacks out there, but I think the average pass defense in the Pac-12 is like 90th in the country. The highest rated pass defense in the Pac-12 is Stanford at 40, and the next one is 70. So there's no defense out there whatsoever. So if you're a quarterback that wants to resurrect your career, go west.
All right,
that's what
So you like Penix?
I do like Penix, Mark. I like Penix a lot. I think Penix is going to be where did that hat come from? Where'd that hat come from? Throw me this hat.
I can't see it.
It says "Make America Hard Again."
What?
Why we got a "Make America Hard Again" hat?
This office has changed since you left.
This office. I like Penix a lot. I think Penix is going to be good.
Drake May. Who else can win the Heisman? Who else is don't give me whoever's quarterback for Alabama, whoever's quarterback for I just like give me actual names, not like.
Okay, I'm going to give you a name. You ready?
Yeah.
If he plays, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he's far and away the best receiver in the country. A receiver just won it a couple of years ago. I don't think his quarterback is going to be overwhelming to the point. Like, I think Marvin Harrison is going to have to carry that offense a little bit, or at least help the quarterback out a lot.
I think Ohio State has too many good receivers. I think our offense is too good because
you don't get awarded. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think it's insane he didn't win the Biletnikoff last year. Like he was so clearly the best. And Tennessee fans are going to get a dump in their pants over that. Whatever. Because I don't care about the stats. Use your eyeballs. Watch this man play wide receiver. I said this to you on the show last time you were on here that I think Marvin Harrison could be the most talented football player to ever wear an Ohio State jersey. You thought I was insane. I've slept on it. I've thought about it for the month since you were last on the show. I'm doubling down on that. I think he is unequivocally one of the 5 most talented football players to ever wear an Ohio State.
So you didn't double down on it.
I'm totally fine with this. I think I doubled down on he is absolutely, without question, one of the top 5, which puts him in the conversation, Brandon, which is what I said in the first place. I said he could maybe be the most talented to ever wear it. If you're in the top 5, you're maybe. That counts.
Okay. Here's the thing about Marvin Harrison and the Heisman, okay? When you want to say no because you're going to be too balanced and you're going to have running backs, all that, I understand that. But you got to understand, you don't win the Heisman based on all 12 games. You just don't. There's a select group of players that are in the mix for the Heisman, and as long as they're putting up baseline numbers all year, you really just have to star in the big games. If Marvin Harrison Jr. puts up 85 catches, 15 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, and he destroys Penn State and Michigan, that son of a bitch might win the Heisman.
Right. I agree with you. I don't.
You also got to watch out for Blake Corum too, because Blake Corum probably would have won it last year if he didn't get hurt at the end. So
Blake Corum can't win the Heisman. Blake Corum, he can't. You can't give a Heisman to a guy who gets hurt against Ohio State. He goes out of the game and the team becomes better. I know there's more to it than that.
I do think his backup is just as good as he is. I think Donovan Edwards is just as good as Blake Corum. Yeah.
So when Blake Corum comes out of the game and you don't how can you say this guy is the best player in all of football when he leaves the game and Michigan doesn't even miss him at all? And
Mark, voters love Michigan. Heisman voters love Michigan.
I know
players.
they love it.
They gave it to Charles Woodson when he shouldn't have got it. They got Jabril Peppers to New York City when that's ridiculous. They gave
it to Denard Robinson in September and October.
Aiden Hutchinson finished second in the Heisman when Will Anderson, who bested him in every stat, finished sixth. Like Michigan players are loved by Heisman voters.
Who's the Aiden Hutchinson? Is Harold Perkins? Is he the guy? Like who's the
best defensive player?
Like the guy who could win the Heisman. That's like not the traditional Heisman path. I mean that ship has sailed. I get what the Heisman at this point. They don't even consider defensive players. They don't consider. It is really like just a skill position.
They consider certain players off like 8 teams.
Right. But let's pretend it's still like the mid 90s and there's a chance if a guy's an absolute monster.
I think Harold Perkins is the best defensive player in the country.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be putting the quarterback on the ground a lot, and he's going to be doing it in big games. He would be my choice. An off the beaten path one, maybe Jared Verse at Florida State. They open with LSU and then have Clemson in week 3 or 4. If he dominates those 2 games, he's going to be one of the stars of the season. So I think Jared Verse at Florida State is one of those as far as defensive guys. I don't know that there's just a true 320-pound defensive lineman that stands out as much this year. There are good ones, but I don't think there's any like Ndamukong Suh back in 2009.
Yeah.
So there you go.
When do they expand the playoff? Is this the last year for 4?
It's next year, right? Or is it?
Yeah.
Is it 24 or 20? I don't know. So much has changed.
I'll ask Mincy. I'll ask Mincy.
And he'll text me, and then you'll get the answer.
I'll ask Mincy.
Am I the same color as this chair? I mean, Lake Life has been good to me. Look at my color.
I will say, dude, I went golfing up by your place. This weekend.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Well, I knew you're in New York. It is it's a nice little spot up there. I think I might get a second home up there.
Oh, really?
I do like it up there. Yeah, I think I might. That might be my vacation home. Okay. I'm thinking about getting a lake house up your way.
If you're buying second homes, I'm going to have to speak with my agent immediately because if your contract is allowing you second homes, I am either leaving or getting paid.
No, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful. Are we worried about the commute? I ask you this all the time, but I'm.
No,
I gotta now that all right, because I every time I drive it, I'm like I haven't even driven the full thing. I got kind of close to where you're living, and I drove back to my place after I golfed, and I was like,
okay,
fuck.
There's 2 interstates. Okay, 90 goes up to the northwest suburbs, 94 goes straight north. 90 has the construction. 94 is clean as a whistle. 94 is good, so I'm good.
You're fine.
No problems. Yep.
All right.
I'm fine.
All right.
Ish.
All right.
An hour and a half every day. Well, I can do that. You know how many podcasts? You know how many Mark Titus podcasts I'm going to knock out?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're going to try, but then those podcasts are going to be 37 minutes because the guy on that podcast gets to his point faster than I do, and you're going to hate him. You're going to hate that guy. You're going to be like, God damn it, Joel Klatt, that was such a concise point that I now have an hour of drive left.
I'm gonna text my wife. I'm gonna text my wife. Listen, I got to pull over for about 20 minutes. Titus hasn't got to the point yet, so as soon as he knocks this thing out of the park, I'm coming home. I'm just gonna be in the Winn-Dixie parking lot. What else?
Oh, I was gonna ask you about the Do you feel like your team sucks, Mississippi State? You're not in playoff contention. Everyone knows that. You're kind of a joke of a fucking program. For a team like Mississippi State, do you where's your mindset? I feel like college football has shifted to where it's playoff or not playoff, and the bowls are dead and all that sort of thing. So what is, in all seriousness, give me a vibe check on what it is like to cheer for a program that is good but not great. That you kind of go into a season, you're not going to win a national championship, but there's still enough to play for. Where are you at in 2023? It is
reality, right? Like Mississippi State is my favorite team. They're never going to win a national title. They're just not. They're not in the group of teams that has the resources or the ability to do it. That being said, it doesn't really dampen my excitement for a season to come because you never know. Like getting to the playoff would be a national title to me. It would feel like that, and that's kind of depressing. But it still doesn't dampen it because there's still the ability to beat teams that could win the national title. There's still the ability, the passion and the experience of watching college football on a Saturday and going to college football games is still so strong and so different than anything else in sports that it kind of covers up the fact that we'll never win a national title.
So you're saying you don't care about the football as much. You just want to eat brats in the parking lot. As long as you can do that every Saturday, you're going to be happy. And you don't.
This is the SEC. We don't eat brats. All right, brats. You Big Ten guys, you Midwest guys think brats are the only thing ever been made. We eat proper tailgating food. We're not going to eat brats, but we will eat good tailgating food.
What is proper tailgating food? What is proper tailgating food?
Oh,
Smokies?
It's barbecue. Yes, cocktails. Oh, I love the cocktail smokies.
You like the little wieners?
In the crock pot? Oh, my God, yes. A little barbecue sauce on them. Shit, I could eat 90 of those. Wings, shit like that. All manner of dips. Oh, we got so many dips. So many dips at tailgates in the South.
So it's like it's basically a Midwest tailgate, just no brats. Because we have all those things.
We don't really have brats. We don't eat brats as much. Yeah. Smoked sausage more than brats.
You were incredulous over the idea of meat that's been stuffed into a tube, and then I was like, well, what do you eat? And you're like, I eat the miniature.
Can I
eat the miniature meat stuffed in a tube.
I don't know if you've noticed when you go shopping there in Chicago, but where I shop in southeastern Wisconsin, the amount of sausages, variety of sausages and cheeses in these grocery stores is fucking staggering. I go to a grocery store that has it's like 50 yards long, the cheese and sausage aisle, and it's double on both sides. Like, it's just the amount and variety of sausages that these people eat in the Midwest is staggering, and it's great. I love it.
There's a section of my grocery store that just says cholesterol, and that's where.
I mean, I would spend a lot of time in that section. In the cheese section, the cheese. I've grown up. I buy a block of cheddar cheese. I buy this. I buy that. But the cheeses are first rate. Great cheeses.
I think that's it. Oh, I was going to ask you about the Little League World Series. You're very Rico Bosco came on the show not too long ago. We did a Little League World Series preview. It's going on right now. Shout out to the Cuban coach who defected. I don't know. Did you see this story? Cuba's coach just up and left.
Hey, you got to take your shot when you can get it, right?
You got to, dude, capitalize on the moment.
Shoot or shoot.
Rico came on the show. He killed it. He was awesome. Everybody loved Rico. Everybody loved our Little League World Series preview. Everyone walked away from that show, I think, thinking, how can you not love the Little League World Series? How can you not be romantic about this? And that turned my attention to you because you're one of the biggest Little League World Series haters on earth. Have you walked that back at all? As you've been watching, because I know you've been watching. As you've been watching the Little League World Series thus far. Yeah.
My name is Brandon Walker, and right now on August 21st, 2023, I'm going to say a take that I've said before, but I'm doubling down on it now. The Little League World Series is the worst annual sporting event in the United States that gets any play whatsoever. It should not be televised. It's embarrassing that it's televised. It's mid-baseball on mid-fields with mid-announcers and mid-baseball. Mid-everything else. It's mid-everything. And why are we televising 12-year-olds playing baseball?
It's mid-baseball.
Why are we televising 12-year-olds playing baseball? We don't.
You turn on an event called the Little League World Series, and you're like, "This is fucking. These kids aren't as good as the Yankees. These kids fucking suck."
Well, they are as good as the Yankees, but really, think about this. We don't televise 12-year-old basketball. We don't televise 12-year-old golf tournaments, 12-year-old football. We don't televise any of that. Why does baseball get their own?
Because the Little League, it's the brand. It's Little League. If there was a basketball, and by the way, I will say we're Pop Warner. I think there are Pop Warner football games. I think you can
not televised. They don't put them on TV.
I think they're televised. Not
on main ESPN like this is.
I think you can check ESPN too. I've watched Pop Warner football before. I know of like a lazy summer day when there's nothing on television. I know that they put a Pop Warner I'm picturing like the Wide World of Sports in Orlando, and it's like the fucking like we just got done with like the 7th grade like ballet competition. Yeah. Now we toss it over to the football fields across the way.
I will say this:
football.
There's nothing funnier on Twitter than highlights of like a 7th grader who's dunking, like a 7th grader who's already grown up and he's like 6'8" or 6'7". A 7th grader dunking, playing amongst other 7th graders is just hilarious to watch.
The kid who's hit. That's why I watch the Little League World Series. The kid who's hit puberty when no one else has hit puberty It's
But
unbelievable.
here's that thing. Here's that thing, Mark. The basketball player that has hit it already has to play on a 94-foot court with 20-foot 3-point line and 15-foot. He has to play on an adult court. They put these fucking kids who already have mustaches and mortgage payments on a field that's 180 feet. Like they play on this tiny ass field. It's like. And then the pitchers who throw 95 he's got 2 kids in prison already. He's throwing 95 to an umpire who can't see, just doing this all the time.
I gotta say, the more you talk about it, the more I'm like, how can you know all this? How can you?
It sucks, man. It just sucks.
It's mid baseball.
It's mid. It's not as good as major leagues. I don't know if you knew that because did you know that?
All right, Brandon Walker, my sidekick on the new show called Mostly Sports.
You gonna make that a thing?
I mean, I think you are going to be a good number 2 to me. I think we play well together. I think we bounce off of each other well, and I think you being my sidekick will be great. I think you winning. But is there okay? I want to say this, by the way, before we launch the show. I have 2 goals with this show, and Brandon, you can say what your goals are, but these are my 2 individual goals for Mostly Sports. Number 1 is save Brandon's career. It is a joke. We all know this. Brandon needs all the help he can get. That's why I signed on to Barstool. Is Brandon just he needs something? He needs something where he can point to and he could say that is my worth. That is what I bring to the table. And my hope is that Mostly Sports will be that for him. Yeah. Number 2, I want to win a sports Emmy, and we've said this before on the show. I'm saying it again. I want to win a sports Emmy with Mostly Sports, and if that is ultimately you win Best Supporting Takesman for Mostly Sports, and that's
that has
the
to
only
be an Emmy category soon.
I will take that, but I just want our show to win. I want our show to win one sports Emmy, Brandon.
So your two goals are to get me to pull the pistol out of my mouth and not go ahead and end it because my career is so mediocre.
Yes.
And number 2, win the approval of a bunch of assholes who don't matter.
Yes. That's exactly it. Yes, I want to win the approval of the assholes because that is something that you say you don't want until
you get it.
You get it, and then you're like, that's the most important thing in the world to me. Yeah. You say you don't want it until you get in a room with those people. Like you go to some like swanky like sports media like you go to the Super Bowl and like someone's throwing like some sports media party and you show up there and then you realize that you're the outcast asshole, and when you're sitting on your couch you can point to all them and be like they're the assholes, but then you get in that room and you're like, wait, I'm the asshole. You just want to win their approval, Brandon, and the way you do that is by winning a sports Emmy. I found that's the
What's your shirt?
That's the ticket. Columbus Crew jersey.
Oh really? I knew it was an MLS jersey because of the patch, but I didn't know. I couldn't tell. I can't see close enough to see the actual logo of the team.
Yeah, 2-time MLS Cup champions. Just beat the shit out of Cincinnati.
What did Inter Miami just win, or whatever their name is? What did they just win?
The League's Cup.
League's, yeah.
What's that?
I don't. MLS is kind of like NBA, where they're just like they throw a bunch of shit against the wall, and they're just like, let's have 1,000 different trophies we hand out, so that way everybody feels like they won something. That's what like Adam Silver's doing with the NBA as well.
I was looking for tickets to Bulls games this year. I was looking like a couple weeks ago, and there were only 4 games listed. It was the in-season tournament, and I was like, they're starting with that? The in-season tournament's going to be the first thing they do?
I have no idea.
I don't either.
The in-season tournament, I've worked under the assumption this entire time that the in-season tournament is a literal joke and that it's not actually happening. So like the more stuff gets announced, the more I'm like, I continue to be like that. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. At some point, I'm going to have to take it seriously, but I'm not there yet. I still think there's no way. The reward, the award, I guess, for winning is $500,000. I think for every player. And that's Adam Silver's way to get the players to care. Is that?
I mean, that's not bad.
Jaylen Brown is making $68 million a year, and he's going to try extra hard in the middle of a season to win $500,000.
I think those bench players will be trying their ass off when they get in there.
Well, they're going to clap harder. Like that's where you're motivating like the guys that aren't playing.
If you want to take shots at bench players, Titus, that's your choice. That's your choice.
Howard, that's basically it. Is like the guys who are most motivated by the money are going to be the guys that aren't playing.
Yeah.
If you did an in-season tournament with all the guys, anybody who started a game is ineligible at that point, and then you play with the rest of the guys, You have my attention. I think I'd watch that. But I think what I've just described is college basketball.
That's exactly what you described. You just described a bunch of 55 to 53 final scores.
I thought I'd take all of the best players, get them out of here.
Right.
Throw some guys who are underpaid out there and let them.
Going to be a lot of charges taken. There could be a lot of shot clock violations, a lot of shit like that.
What else do people need to know about college football, Brandon? This was your opportunity to shine. I would hate for you to squander
week
it.
0 and week 1 are a little weak. I think week 2 is when this thing really gets started. You got Texas, Alabama. What?
I wanted you on the show. I was so excited. God, it's been a long summer. I'm finally back in the Midwest. I'm around people who give a shit about football finally. And damn it, we're going to get college football on television on Saturday. Let's get Brandon Walker, the voice of college football here at Barstool Sports, on the show to get us jacked up for college football. And you're basically like, take the first 3 weeks off. Take the first 3 weeks off. Check back in.
I'll do it the way you want to do it. I'll do it the way you want to do it. No.
Meanwhile, the top 2 teams check back in November. And everybody just
I'll
pay
do
no
it the way
attention.
you want to do it. Oh my God, Titus! This week we got Notre Dame and Navy, a game so big they couldn't even hold it in this fucking country. They had to go to a whole new goddamn country. Notre Dame and their offense will average 19 points a game, and their quarterback from Wake Forest against Navy running that exciting ass triple option offense. Oh my God! There. Is that better? Is that better? We're all going to get fucking laid this weekend because college football's back. Yay! Sorry.
That is actually better. That's good. I mean, you and I both know we're going to cut that and tweet it out, and like that's the promo.
There's our clip. Okay, job done today, boys.
All right, thanks, Brandon. You've done enough.
All right, so September 12th is what we're going with. The date.
Yep.
Now, you'll notice that's a Tuesday because we felt maybe launching a show on September 11th was a bad idea. So we're going to go with Tuesday, September 12th.
I don't know why you're laughing. That's literally what I was.
I didn't laugh.
And by we, you mean me. I was the only
You were the
smart
only
guy
one
in the
that
room.
was really adamant about it. Yes.
I was literally the only guy in the room that was like, we cannot launch a show in the morning, by the way. You wanted to launch, I think, at like the
at the exact moment of impact.
Like at the exact moment the first plane hit. You're like, well, why don't we just do it at like 9 or 10 Eastern, on September? Where are you from? What are we doing?
Yeah, so it's Tuesday, September 11th, but it will be a Monday through Friday show.
Tuesday, September 12th, you mean? It will be Monday through Friday. We're launching on Tuesday. Yeah, and that's literally the reason why. September 11th. I was like, I don't want the entire country to be sad, and we have 2 bozos live on a YouTube stream as the rest of the country's mourning, and we're,
Yeah. No, it definitely wouldn't be smart to launch the Monday after the first NFL Sunday. That would be bad timing.
Well, I looked at the NFL schedule, and week 1's actually not that good. Week 2 is not that good either. Week 3 starts. There's like 2 or 3 good games, but I think if you tune in mid-October, that's when the NFL really gets going. And
don't even worry about it for the good teams until like December.
Just don't even check in until.
That was your thing. You were like, dude, I don't have to watch Georgia and Michigan until November. Well, guess what? There's 128 other fucking teams to watch.
Do you have? One more thing you can help me with. So when we do mostly sports, I'm going to talk football more. I'm going to try to be a football guy. I'm trying to rebrand myself as more than just a basketball guy. What do you have advice for me as I wade more into the football waters? Like, people seem a little more unhinged. Football fans seem a little more unhinged than basketball fans. What am I getting myself? What is the difference between a football fan and a basketball fan that I'm gonna have to?
Football fan. There's a higher percentage of football fans, particularly college, that their entirety of their life revolves around their team. Now, I know there's some college basketball guys like that, like some Duke fans, some Kentucky fans, but there's a much higher percentage where everything they tweet, everything they speak, everything they do in life revolves around their team. And if you so much as say, I think they might go 8-4 this year, you are their enemy for life. So you're going to create more enemies, and people are going to want you dead. The other day, I don't know if y'all saw it. I tweeted out a video of Michael Crabtree scoring against Texas. I said this was a top 5 game in the last 20 years.
Nobody saw it because you blocked everybody.
A guy quote tweeted it and said, "Kill yourself." All right. You want me to kill myself because I posted a video of Michael Crabtree scoring a touchdown 15 years ago. Noted. You're right. Sorry, buddy. My bad. Fucking pussy.
Did you block him? Did you block him?
No, I didn't. I didn't block him. I did report him.
I want to have I sent this idea to the group chat and it got crickets in return. But I want people who you've blocked on Twitter, because like the moment we announced the show, I had a lot of people tweeting at me, "Can you get Brandon to unblock me?"
That's going to happen organically. You're going to get that a lot.
I know. I want to do a segment on the show where those people that you blocked and they feel like they were unjustly blocked call in and state their case, and then I get to be the judge as to whether you should unblock them or not.
If you would be an actual judge and not
I will be an actual judge. Like if people, because I block a lot of people as well. Like I would be an actual judge, but I think it'd be funny because there are a lot of people that are like, all I did was I made a lighthearted joke, but I want to hear what the joke was. You tell me what the joke was, and I'll be fair. If you say kill yourself, you should block that guy. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why he blocked me.
And then he blocked. I know, but that would be hilarious. Those people would call in and they would think they were in the right, and they were like, I don't get it, Brandon, right. Pussy.
All right. Anything else?
That's it. Brandon Walker, go listen to what's your show called again?
Unnecessary Roughness.
That's right. Unnecessary Roughness for all of his college football takes.
Yeah, they're mad at me right now because I was supposed to record today and I can't record because of the yak, and they're pissed. So we'll figure it out.
He'll start showing enthusiasm on that show about week 5, and it'll be a fun show to follow along.
I've got enthusiasm now. You're the one that said you didn't care about Michigan and Georgia until then.
See you guys.